All right, hello everyone. Mr. No Souls here, and as you can tell, today is the Lions game, and best way to go and celebrate is to go and make a review for the Bard in the 2024 Player Handbook. So let's get straight into it and start talking about the Bard. Now, the Bard is a lovable dancing musical trickster who has a lot of skills, a lot of support capability, is primarily a caster. However, with some of the subclasses, you can get a little bit more flexibility with that. Your primary attribute is charisma. Your hit point die is still a d8. Your saving proficiencies is a dexterity and charisma. Pardon me, I have a hiccup. Um, your skill proficiencies is kind of unique. Not many character classes have this, but you can choose any of the three skills. So right here is a listing of all the skills, and you can pick any of these three. Then you have only simple weapons proficiency, so that's a little bit of a nerf. You can't go and use your things like mauls or great swords and so on. You can just use basic daggers, short swords, and so on. You don't have a shield as well. So by default, you're really limited on what weapons you have. I mean, a quarterstaff is like one of your best options, but you're not normally going to be relying on your melee weapon. What you're really going to be relying on are these three musical instruments here. And right here, you can see musical instruments: the bagpipe, the drum, the dulcimer, the flute, horn, lute, lyre, pan flute, and schwam. Personally, I've always been a big fan of the drum and the bagpipe because, it's just really funny to go full Scottish Celt in there. Everyone thinks you're going to be some big old fighter when they hear you coming from the distance, and instead it's just some dainty little gnome with a bagpipe going to town. It's funny. I personally enjoy that kind of view. So you get three musical instruments. You only have light armor, but again, you're a caster. You're not supposed to be up there in the front. And then you get to choose between leather armor, two daggers, your musical instrument, which I would recommend picking one of the three musical instruments that you chose, and an entertainer's pack, which is the backpack, bedroll, bell, bullseye lantern. And a bullseye lantern is a lantern that you can focus to only point light in a straight direction. Sometimes also called a miner's lantern or a grave robber's lantern. Um, Three costumes, which can situationally be useful. Mirror, 8 flasks of oil, 9 days of ration, a tinderbox, and a water skin. Not bad. Or you can just, and also 19 gold pieces. Or my personal favorite, as I said, pick the straight cash. Um, let's see here. Again, bards are all about that music, dance, and verse. And that is how they go and do their spells, which buff allies, heal them, or debuff enemies and hurt them. And starting out at level 1, you get the core bard traits table, which is the stuff down here, and you get the bard's feature table. And if you multi-class into a bard, you do get their hit dice. You get a proficiency in one skill of your choice instead of three. You also only get one musical instrument of your choice. You do get light armor training, which, I mean, considering almost every class has light armor training, isn't really a big thing, but I digress. You gain the level 1 bard features, and yeah, that's it. Now, as usual, I'm just going to scroll down into the bard feature table, and I'm going to go slow so you can kind of read through it, but you're going to immediately notice there's a lot in here. And I mean a lot. That is a dense, dense table. And it pretty much shows just how loved the Bard is by the D&D like company. the Wizards of the Coast, sorry. They absolutely adore the Bard, and I think that's why it gets the treatment that it does and gets so many abilities. Thematically, they're great. They're really cool to play. They have a lot going on for them, and they're a fan favorite. So for myself, I'm always kind of glad whenever I see a bard around. Yeah, sure, they might not dump the most damage, and yeah, sure, they might not heal the most, or they might not have the most CC, but they're often pretty funny, and they're a lot of fun to kind of roll with. So I highly recommend everyone at some point or another at least try out a bard, because they are a very unusual class compared to many others. So starting out, you get Bardic Inspiration, which you can supernaturally inspire others, and it's pretty much giving them a d6 die. When you use the d6 die as a bonus action, you get to give it to a creature within 60 feet of yourself. They get that dice, and then they can only have one dice at a time, which is important to note. It doesn't say anything that you can't give out multiple dice. You might have to use multiple bonus actions to be able to give out dice, but you can have multiple Bardic Inspirations out at a single time, and it effectively gives them a free d6. Now, once within the next hour, if the creature fails a d20 test, so strength test, constitution test, poison check, so on, any of those d20 tests, they can roll the Bardic Inspiration die and add that number to the d20. And right here, they call out why you'd want to do that. Potentially turn a failure into a success. That's very straightforward. A Bardic Inspiration die is expended when it's rolled. So, there you go. No, when it's expended, it does not return to the Bard. That means literally it is gone until that Bard does a long rest. Number of uses. You can confer Bardic Inspiration dies a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier. Again, that's your main stat. Minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Very standard. You're going to notice you get everything back on long rest, you get one back on short rest. Note, that is not the case here, though. At higher levels, your Bardic Inspiration dice change when you reach certain Bard levels, as shown in the Bard's dice column of the Bard feature. The die becomes a D8 at level 5, a D10 at level 10, and a D12 at 15. That's pretty big. And remember, once you start getting up around 15, you start having checks that are over 20 sometimes. Just depending on what level of fantasy your run is, you could end up with checks above 20 anywhere from like 12. I've seen it happen at 11, but that's just ridiculous in my opinion. Like nobody's going to realistically be passing those, and or the DM's putting those kind of checks out for you to fail because it's effectively saying it's impossible without saying it's impossible. But I am getting out past that. Now, at level 1, you also get spellcasting. You get 2 cantrips. I'm not going to talk about the cantrips except one, Vicious Mockery. This is the bread and butter cantrip for bards because it just gives you an opportunity to make sick puns or make fun of people at the table by using this spell. Often I have seen this be a way to get what was it? Inspiration, which is like a free dice to be able to re-roll any failure that occurs. So, Vicious Mockery is a phenomenal thematic spell that is unique to bards and almost always is in a bard's repertoire. Whenever you gain a bard level, you can replace one of your cantrips with another cantrip of your choice from the bard spell list. When you reach bard level 4 and 10, you learn another cantrip. Spell slots, bard's tables, how many spell slots you get, and gets back on a long rest. You get a number. So again, exact same thing as how spells normally work. You're just going to get a certain number that's in line with the table. Choose spells must be a level which you have a spell slots for. For example, your third level bard, you must prepare spells can include 6 spells of level 1 and 2 in any combination. So, there you go. Changing your prepared spells. Whenever you gain a level of Bard, you can replace one spell on your list with another Bard spell for which you have a spell slot. Note later on this does change a little bit, but out the gate, this is the truth of it. Now, spellcasting is charisma, as I stated. Your focus is a musical instrument. At level 2, you gain something called expertise. What is expertise, you may ask? Expertise is doubling your proficiency bonus on specific skills. You get to pick 2 of your proficiencies and you effectively get to double them. This is an extremely, extremely powerful skill to have, or sorry, feat to have. You get to choose, 2 proficiencies, so that's like your performance and your persuasion. Effectively, you get to double your bonuses on them. If you have 2, you now have 4. If you have 3, you have 6. Do you get my point? It's very powerful. At level 2, also, you gain to add half of your proficiency bonus, rounded down, to any ability check you make that uses a skill proficiency you lack. AKA, if you don't have it, you still get half your proficiency bonus on top of that. Yeah. You are very hard to have fail skill checks. Extremely powerful. So your strength checks, your athletic checks, yeah, you're still getting half of them. It's nothing to laugh at. Okay, a bard's repertoire. Does a bard beat a drum while chanting deeds of ancient heroes, strum a lute while crooning romantic tunes, perform arias of string power, recite dramatic monologues for classic tragedies, so on and so forth? You should really think about like what kind of style your bard prefers if you're going to be role playing, and try to be consistent with that. If you're more of a poet bard, if you're more of a musician bard, maybe you're a dancing bard. You're just a performer. You know, whatever type of bard you are, think about that. It can make it a lot more fun. Now, level 3, as always, is where subclasses become unlocked for any class. There's 4 of them. Correct. There's 4. For a second there, I thought I read 3, and I was like, wait, that can't be right. Where's the last one? There's almost always the last one. But these are the 4 that we will be looking at in a moment. 4th level, you get the standard ability score improvement, which occurs again at 8, 12, and 16. At level 5, you gain Font of Inspiration, which allows you to regain all your expended bardic inspirations when you finish short or long rests. In addition, you can expend a spell slot now, which doesn't consume an action, to regain 1 expended use of Bardic Inspiration. So you could burn your level 1 spell slots to go get something that is a, what was it, D12 at 15? See how that could be very powerful? So, hugely powerful. At level 7, you gain Counter Charm, which you can use musical notes or words to disrupt. I am apparently have a lead tongue today. You can use musical notes or words of power to disrupt mind-influencing effects. Creatures within 30 feet of you that fail a saving throw for charmed or frightened condition, you can take a reaction to cause the save to be re-rolled with advantage. Effectively, if you remember the Berserker, the Frenzy Tree gave you that ability to just straight up be immune when you rage. This effectively gives you some resistance to it as a reaction. That's pretty useful. But there is something you have to note. It does give it to yourself or a creature. However, I think you can only do it once. Yeah, you can only do it once because you only have 1 reaction. So it's only 1 time. So something like the Barbarians, which you can just rage and break it, little different here. At level 10, Magical Secrets. You learn secrets from various magical traditions. So whenever you reach a bard level, including this level, which means You are immediately gaining access to preparing spell numbers in Bard feature tables increases, and you can choose any of your new spells from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, or Wizard spell list. That's right. You have at level 10 the ability to use spells from just about every major spell casting group. I mean, you don't have Sorcerer, you don't have Warlock, you don't have Paladin, but you still have a lot of powerful CC, damage, and debuffs now available to you at level 10. That's massive. And then they become bard spells. So they go off your casting modifier, which is charisma. Yeah, pretty huge. At 18, so level 10 you get that. You have to go 8 levels till you get superior inspiration, which when you roll initiative, you regain expended uses of bardic inspiration until you have 2 or few, or sorry, until you have 2 if you have fewer than that. I speak English, I swear. So, you effectively, anytime you enter combat, you have 2. It's not phenomenal, but it's not terrible either. It effectively saves your like level 1 spell caster or spells slots. At 19, you gain Epic Boon, so you get to choose an Epic Boon. They recommend Boon of Spell Recall. Effectively, you just get back your spell slots. Word of Creation is your level 20 skill, or feat, sorry. And you have Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill automatically prepared. And this one just regains all hit points and removes pretty much every single condition. On top of that, stops them from being prone as long as they have a reaction available and want to use it, of course. Power Word Kill, on the other hand, is if it has 100 HP or lower, it instantly dies. Oh, also, if they don't have that condition met, it does 1d12. Or sorry, 12d12s. Pretty big difference between 1d12 and 12d12s. But, anyways, it's psychic damage. That is brutal. Very few things give you psychic resistance. So, yeah, that's a thing. Now, here's the Bardic spell list. It's massive. All the lists are huge. I am not going to take time to go through each and every single spell. Maybe at a later point we'll be talking about spells in particular. Right now, I'm just going to go through and show you what the list is. It is massive. I mean, just look at this thing. It is a huge, long line of spells. Like, these are huge, and you can see healing spells in here, some things that help you track things, find invisibility, things that will help you do this is a damage spell if I'm right. Yeah, the damage increases. Yeah. So loud noise erupts from it, taking 3d8 thunder. So it's like there are so many things. Again, here's a debuff spell. You can get rid of magic. Like there are a lot of options out of there. You could turn yourself invisible or someone else invisible. You have a polymorph, which for people that don't know what a polymorph is, that's turning something into something else. The joke is you turn people into sheep. That was, I believe, standardized by World of Warcraft, always turning someone into a sheep when they were polymorphed. Oh, pardon me. You get Raised Dead, which is pretty powerful, but again, you have to get to the 5th level. 6th level, starting to get a smaller list. 7th level, you're getting a smaller list. 8th level, it's even smaller. But remember, at this point, you have everyone else's libraries. So it doesn't really matter that your list is getting smaller. You still have the entire world and then some. You gain True Polymorph at 9th level if you want to take it, which instead of just magically turning something into a sheep temporarily, This is they become an actual sheep. Elder Dragon fails to check, sheep. Yeah. Again, as I said, like every class that has like that kind of spell available is like room for shenanigans, and the Bard is just built for shenanigans. Now, here we go. We're now going to start discussing the Bard subclasses. We're going to first start off with the College of the Dance. Effectively, you're like some kind of weird Michael Jackson K-pop star who has phenomenal footwork that bedazzles everyone, as long as you aren't wearing armor or a shield. So you can't even have a shield with this. You gain Dance Virtuoso, which gives you advantage on any charisma performance checks you make that involves you dancing. You could do a lot in dance. If you want to wrestle in dance, you can do it. You just have to really be able to sell that, and most DMs will allow you to do that. You also gain the unarmored defense bonus, so that is 10 plus your dex and charisma modifiers. You also gain agile strike. When you expend a use of bardic inspiration as part of an action, a bonus action, or a reaction, you can make an unarmed strike as part of that action, bonus action, or reaction. Yeah, you just get to slap someone in the face. I could see really good synergy with this though, as like a monk. I'm just saying, it'd be really funny. You also get bardic damage when you can use dexterity instead of strength for attack rules of your unarmed strike. When you deal damage with an unarmed strike, you deal bludgeoning damage, so it forces you to use bludgeoning, equal to the roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your dexterity modifier instead of the strike's normal damage. The roll doesn't expend the die. That's not bad. It's effectively kind of a free hit. Well, not really a free hit. It really just gives you dexterity. So, like, if you want to go be kind of like a monk, kind of like a bard, somewhere in the middle, this would seem to be a really strong option. At level 6, you get Inspiring Movement. When an enemy you see ends its turn within 5 feet of you, you can take a reaction, expend one use of your Bardic Inspiration to move up half of your speed. Then one ally of your choice within 30 feet of you can also move up half of their speed using the reaction. So, whenever an enemy you see ends its turn within 5 feet of you. So, really, as long as they're next to you, like they're ending next to you, you guys get the chance to run in, run out, maneuver, no attacks of opportunity. I mean, it sucks that you lose a bardic inspiration for it, but that's still a really great way to reposition if it's a bad situation that you're in. Like, who wants to be next to a dragon when you're a squishy, squishy spellcaster bard? You're a snack and the dragon knows it. Level 6, Tandem Footwork. When you roll initiative, you can expend a use of bardic inspiration as long as you're not incapacitated. And you roll that dice, and each ally within 30 feet that can see or hear you gets a bonus on their initiatives. You're effectively giving everyone within 30 feet that isn't deaf or blind a bonus of your entire bardic like inspiration die. And it's not like you're burning a die for an effect. You're effectively just buffing everyone's initiative. So this could be really helpful if someone's getting caught flat-footed. It's not probably going to swing the entire initiative, but it's enough to maybe make a not so great situation slightly less great or slightly better. At level 14, Leading Evasion. When you are subject to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw, instead of taking half damage, you take no damage. And if you fail, then you take half damage, which is huge because those are your fireballs, those are your like sleet storms, a lot of your AoE spells. If you succeed, you still take half damage. If you fail, you take full damage. In this case, and now makes it you take no damage if you succeed, and you take half damage if you fail. That is a massive, massive nerf to the amount of damage an AoE spell can be used against you. That is huge. And it really can't be understated. And on top of that, if any creature within 5 feet of you makes the same dexterity throw, you can share that benefit with them. You could literally, in theory, if you were in the center of your party and you have a 5-person party, north, south, east, west, they are all right there surrounding you. Fireball directly on top of you, you all just danced your way out of a fireball. You literally just negated a spell slot from a wizard. That, what? Now, granted, you have to be level 14 to get that, but that is insanely powerful. Insanely powerful. That could literally turn fights by itself. College of Glamour. This is your Fey magic. Now, this is kind of an interesting one. I really like. Strangely enough, when I look at this, I start thinking of like Kiss, like, like heavy, like Glamour, has the flowing hair and everything. But like, if you wanted to go be a rock star, I'm pretty sure they built this for them. You have Charm Person and Mirror Image right out the gate, always prepared at level 3. In addition, you can immediately, after using an enchantment or an illusion spell, which might add enchantment, illusion, you can cause a creature that can see them or see you, creature you can see. Well, am I? Sorry, I am having I think I need to clean my glasses. I am just blind as a bat and unable to provide my function at this moment. Okay, here we go. Yeah, my glasses were dirty. Okay, so you can cause a creature you can see within 60 feet of you to make a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, which is going to be Charisma. Your Charisma effect, sorry. On a fail, the target becomes charmed or frightened for 1 minute, and then they're going to have to keep trying until you either end its effect or they succeed. Once you can use this benefit, once you use this benefit, you can't do it again until long rest. You can also restore your use of it by expending 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration. So, pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. At level 3, you get Mantle Inspiration. You can weave Fey magic into a song or dance to fill others with vigor. And as a bonus action, you can expend a use of your Bardic Inspiration, roll Bardic Inspiration die, and when you do so, choose a number of other creatures within 60 feet, up to a number equal to your Charisma modifier. So if you have a Charisma modifier of 3, because you're at 16 Charisma, you have within 60 feet to pick 3 targets, and then you get to give them a number of temporary hit points equal to 2 times the number you rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die. So let's say you rolled a 4, you get to give them 8 temporary hit points. So you effectively gave 24 hit points. It's not bad. It's not phenomenal, but it's not bad. And then each can use their reaction to move up to its speed without provoking attacks of opportunity. So they get tankier, they also get a move. That's not bad. Combo that with a barbarian and a paladin, maybe a fighter in there. Yeah, that's a pretty effective way to get your front line into the thick of it, and also give them a little bit of an extra cover. Now remember, temporary hit points do not stack on top of each other. If they have a temporary hit point spell that is already taking effect, and then you're dropping this on top of it, if your temporary hit points are lower than theirs, you're effectively taking away a bit of their overshield. Now, granted, if you were to do yours first, they do theirs second or something like that, you can effectively give them a lot of movement, but you just have to be careful with it so you're not going and accidentally removing people's temporary hit points. But it's very strong. And it's still level 3. Level 3, there's not that many things that give you temporary hit points. Just later on, it might become less impactful. At level 6, you get the Mantle of Majesty. You always have Command Spell prepared. Command Spell is effectively being able to give people commands like approach, drop, flee, grovel, or halt. There, you could say more. It's pretty much any one-word command. Oh, okay, so it's now limited. It used to be anything that you could say in one word. That's kind of disappointing. That's a little bit of a nerf to the command rule, but that's fine. Any creature charmed by you automatically fails its saving throw against the command spell you cast. That's not bad. That is pretty useful. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or you expend a level spell slot. I mean, that can be very powerful, to be fair, being able to just automatically have a command followed. But third level spell slot to get it again. I don't know. I mean, third level spells, there's some really good ones in there. At level 14, you have Unbreakable Majesty. As a bonus action, you can assume a magical presence for 1 minute or until you have incapacitated condition. And any creature that tries to hit you with an attack roll for the first time, the attacker must succeed a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC, or the attack misses instead, because they just straight up recoil from you. That is a Yas Queen kind of thing. I'm sorry, but that's just that is something right there. Kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Again, something that I could see kind of working with a monk, but not exactly. This is something I would try to combo with another type of like spellcaster, or maybe a thief. You know, if you were like 14 levels thief, try to get 6 levels thief, 14 level bard, you could get some really sneaky stuff and then use this to kind of protect you from a lot of nasty like melee attacks. It's pretty good. You also get it back on short rest or long rest. That's pretty easy to get. Short rests are really easy to obtain. So, get out of jail free card could be a real game changer. Now, as I've said, College of Lore, this is an old favorite of mine. This is the one that I normally use. At the real start of it, you get your proficiency bonus. So you gain proficiency with 3 skills of your choice. So you now have far more proficiencies. You have 6 proficiencies, 2 expertise. You also get cutting words, in which you can use your wit to confuse and sap other people's confidence within 60 feet of yourself. So, makes a damage roll or succeeds in an ability check or an attack roll. You can take a reaction and expend 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration and subtract that number from that creature's roll, potentially making it a failure. That is a great way. And as long as you know roughly what they're likely say what their DC is, like how difficult it is, can be a real game changer of just nope, not today. Goodbye. You fail. Very powerful. Magical discoveries. You learn 2 spells of your choice. These spells can come from the Cleric Druid Wizard spell list or any combination thereof, as long as you have a spell slot available to cast them. And they're just always prepared, but whenever you level up, you can replace one of them. So, yeah, you just get extra spells. It's very strong. It is a phenomenal choice in my mind. And then you have Peerless Skill. Whenever you make an ability check, attack roll, and fail, you can expend 1 use of Bardic Inspiration, roll the Bardic Inspiration die, add the number rolled to the d20, and potentially turn it into a success. On failure, the Bardic Inspiration isn't expended, aka you can freely, as long as you have 1 Bardic Inspiration die left, always have a chance to turn it into a success. That is a very strong option to always be able to just save your own dies. It no longer really turns it into a gamble. Now, I think this is better if you're only playing as like a focused bard, but it's not a bad option if you combine it with any other spellcaster. Now, College of Valor. This is a more martial kind of bard. This is a very strange one. I don't know exactly what to make of this one, but this one you're all about telling like great stories of like past heroes, that kind of stuff. At level 3, you have combat inspiration. You can use your wit to turn the tides of the battle, and you get to have the following effects from the Bardic Inspiration die. So, at defense, when a creature is hit by an attack roll, that creature can use its reaction to roll a Bardic Inspiration die and add that number rolled to its AC against attack. Extremely strong. Offense. Immediately after a creature hits a target with an attack roll, the creature can roll the Bardic Inspiration die and add that number to the attack's damage. Also huge. If you have a really weak person that, let's say they're a spellcaster and they're the only one able to damage the target, they have acid damage and no one else has acid damage, and it's the only thing you have available to do damage to the creature. Give them the Bardic Inspiration dies. Now they're able to do more damage with that acid. it it's a strong choice. I can see why it exists. It's just very different from all the other classes just right out the gate with these two abilities. This is pretty wild. And then again, also level 3, you get martial training where you gain proficiencies with medium armor and shields. And you get shields with it. So you don't have like unarmored defense, you don't have the ability to stop attacks from hitting you, but you do kind of gain tankiness instead. But you're still rocking a very low hit point die. It's a strange situation to be in. Like this is the one that maybe if you're like multi-classing with like a fighter, maybe this is where you go for it. I don't know. It's interesting though. And then at level 6, you gain an extra attack. That that's not bad. That's a strong choice. But again, like you're very squishy. So if you're playing it straight as a bard, this is a not so great choice because you don't really want to get up in there into the fight because your AC is probably not going to be the highest, and if it is really high, you still don't have necessarily the health to play with those gambles. And you don't have the ability to fully dodge or reduce the damage of AoE spells. So if you get targeted with AoEs because you're up with the frontliners, you could end up in a very bad situation very quickly. But it's still a really strong thing to get. So at level 14, then you get battle magic. After you cast a spell that has a casting action, you can make one attack with a weapon as a bonus action. It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe if you're like an Eldritch Knight and then you combo this with an Eldritch Knight, you get some really funny combinations because then you're just swinging out multiple times. Yeah, actually, that would probably because it doesn't say once like a turn or something like that. So like an Eldritch Knight, you could use all your multiple actions to cast spells, and then because of this, you're then also hitting them with your sword. So then you're like effectively getting to do like 4 attacks or 6 attacks or something like that because you gain the extra attack from this as well. So you would get 2 attacks from Eldritch Knight, then you would get a third attack from this extra attack in this subclass, and then you would be able to. Well, I don't. Do you? I'd have to go look at the. We would have to go look at the fighter and see the Eldritch Knight combination, but just keep this in the you know keep it in the cap that might be the combo. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, everyone. This is Mr. No Souls. We managed to go very quickly through the bard, so I'm quite happy with it. But anyways, have a good night. Bye bye.